And now, welcome to an evening with young men resolute in their faith in Christ Jesus. That faith leads them to take a stand for truth and justice. They would now like to share their perspective with you on what is going on around us. From an undisclosed location in Middle Tennessee, we are the Patriots of Faith. Good afternoon, Tyler.
Good afternoon, Jordan.
Our intro said evening, but it's not quite evening yet, as you can see by the little bit of light we still have coming in this afternoon.
So I was at a Chinese restaurant today, and someone that I was with had a fortune cookie that had a interesting message on it that I think would apply to voters for Hillary Clinton. If you don't think about the future, you can't have one. So that's what I wanted to open up with today. But we've got quite a few news stories to cover. Of course, we haven't met for a couple weeks, but we're going to try to quickly cover some of the things that have happened within the last couple weeks.
And speaking of Clinton, we'll have some coverage on some recent developments on the 2016 front coming up here shortly, but we got some other details before that.
Absolutely. First of all, there was a shooting in Texas at the shooting was a potential shooting, but the police were actually able to keep it under control, but it was almost a potential disaster. I guess it was, when did it happen, Jordan? Over a week ago, I know.
2 weeks ago, this last weekend. I guess it was 2 weeks ago Sunday, I think it was.
Okay,
it was May 3rd is what I'm seeing here.
Mm-hmm. But there were two, from what I understand, they were affiliated with ISIS. Two people affiliated with ISIS who had planned to conduct a massacre at a event that was aimed at cartoons that were making fun of Muhammad. And they had planned to go in there and execute all the people that were involved. But the police were able to, they saw the people, I think they saw them with the guns, and one of the police was able to shoot them down.
Yes.
Actually, they were trying to shoot the police first so they could get in. But the police were able to gun them both down. And it was amazing because I think these ISIS people, they had really like military guns, and the police just had the pistols, I believe.
It was at the Curtis Colwell Center in Garland, Texas. That's in the Dallas Metroplex, Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex area. It was May 3rd, and what happened was a security officer from the Garland Independent School District, he was shot in the ankle, one of the security officers, but a police officer, traffic cop, I guess it was, from what I can remember, actually caught on to the situation quickly, and he ended up taking out the two suspects.
Also, speaking of ISIS, the senior leader for ISIS was executed in a ground raid by U.S. forces on, I believe it was it Saturday or
Saturday.
Friday night? But despite that, ISIS is also taking over Ramadi, the city of Ramadi, which is close to Baghdad, and it's actually a pretty large city, from what I understand. And Iraqi forces are fleeing the city, so ISIS looks like it's taking over that city. So that's not a good sign.
Reminds me of that terror group, was it Hydra? That's on Captain America. Cut one head off, two more will take its place. You've got a step backwards. This senior ISIS commander, his name was Abu Sayyaf, and it was a special operations forces raid. It's amazing once you actually hear the coverage of the raid, the different folks that were actually there that have reported about it. It's amazing what all they went through. We had a lot of special operatives that went in there, and it was in what's officially Syria territory. But I mean, they take out this ISIS commander, and at the same time, like you said, here in the city of Ramadi, we've actually captured that Iraqi city after a lot of work, and they put there's been a lot of days they've been trying to capture that city, and the city's fallen. From what I heard today, I think there's about 800,000 people that lived in that city, but for weeks now, people have been evacuating because of the danger. And I saw here just a little short while ago, I actually saw a little bit more about that. I'm trying to look that up here real quick because I saw an update about that just a short while ago. They said about how many people they thought were killed in the assault there. I'll find it here in a second. If you want to pick up on something else, I'll find that.
Well, we were talking about Hillary Clinton. First of all, she and Bill there were reports on both CNN and Fox News, I'm sure a whole bunch of other sources as well. Fox said $25 million, CNN said $30 million, but the Clintons have collected either $30 or $25 million in just being paid for public speaking engagements since January of 2014. So that's something big that's come out on them. Also, Hillary Clinton has made a statement at some kind of a conference for women regarding abortion. She said people are going to have to change their religious beliefs. And so that is a very disturbing statement there that she made. Another thing with Hillary Clinton, she said that as her choice of running mate, she would have Julian Castro as that person. And Jordan has some more on that.
Going back real quick, I did find that real quick on the fall of Ramadi. The New York Times is reporting that the spokesman for Anbar's governor, which is where this happened in Iraq, he had said that 500 civilians and security personnel had been killed over the past 2 days. So it's been awful butchering going on there. But going back to what you're saying there with Julian Castro. Julian Castro used to be the mayor of San Antonio, Texas, from 2009 to 2014. And after that, he was tapped to become Obama's Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. He was the first Hispanic that was able to give a address at the Democratic convention too. So they've been trying to kind of, I guess they groom him for a role nationally for some time. But what's interesting about him as well, I had pulled up an article on. We could probably cover more of this in detail at another point. As time goes along, especially if he does get selected, because there's so much to cover. But he is, according to some people, the next Obama. This is actually an article from Breitbart back in 2012, right around the time of the convention. And it said, while Obama's radicalism had maybe escaped the notice of the Democrat convention in 2004, Castro's views are a bit more transparent. His brother actually ran for Congress, so it's almost a family affair with them. But they learned their politics on their mother's knee and in the streets of San Antonio. Their mother, Rosie, helped found a radical anti-white socialist Chicano party called La Raza Unida, which means the race united. And they seek to create a separate country, which is called Aztlan in the Southwest, which has to try to take the Southwest away from the United States and bring it back into more of a Mexico fold. So I don't know if Hillary's going to want to have, even though maybe he may not have those beliefs, but I mean, he was raised with those beliefs, so you would think that there might be some attached there, but you don't know if, I wouldn't think that you would want to have those kind of beliefs tied into your administration or into your campaign when you're already got all these scandals like we've been talking about all around. And Bill Clinton even mentioned recently when the press asked him if he wanted to continue giving speeches, he said, well, yeah, I've got to pay the bills. And I mean, sure, no one can blame someone for doing all these speeches. But at the same time, with how much money is being paid for speeches, as you go back and look at time, I mean, you can't really say that you're the candidate of the working man or of the middle class if you're worried about paying bills with $1 million salary for one speech.
And as many public speaking engagements as she's been involved in, you would think she would have answered more questions. Carly Fiorina pointed out in an interview with Meet the Press that in the time she had been running for president, she had answered over 300 questions from the media. Hillary Clinton, on the other hand, at that time, had only answered 8. So that kind of speaks to her character.
And at some point in a special segment, we could actually talk about the mechanics and other things of a campaign as well, too. But right now, if I was Hillary Clinton, I'd want a challenger, because right now she's going to go through these next few months. People think that the Republican Party having all these candidates jumping to the fray is going to cause a big fight. There's going to be a lot of negativity coming out, and everything else is just going to destroy the nominee coming out. But that's not necessarily true. You go back and look at political history. Usually, if you have a challenger, just like anything else, competition breeds you to become the best you can be. So all these Republicans, whoever comes out of the top is going to be the most tried and tested, and as far as a candidate goes. But Hillary, if she doesn't get a serious nominee soon, Bernie Sanders is not going to be a serious opponent, and neither is Jim Webb, or even Martin O'Malley may come on the scene. But now with everything going on in Baltimore lately, I mean, a lot of that stuff has been kind of fostering under his watch. So unless Hillary gets a serious challenger sometime soon, she might actually have a hard time trying to. She may have a hard time trying to get a good shot at the nomination as far as her being tested goes and everything.
Quickly, last week there was a train crash near Philadelphia involving the Amtrak train line. And Jordan knows a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I was actually keeping up with that when that became a breaking story. We have the casualty total, as far as we know, is 8, and over 200 people have been injured. This has become a big issue. Of course, it's an awful tragedy, and there's been other things that happened in the past. 1943, there was a train derailment on the same section of track here in the Frankfurt section of Philadelphia, and that killed 79 and injured 117. So it is a tricky curve, but there's been a lot of discrepancy on what the situation is. We don't know a cause yet. There's several different potential causes, but we do know that the speed was twice that of the posted speed limit 50 miles an hour over that curve, and the train was going at least 106 before the emergency parking brake was initiated. But there's reports that maybe objects were thrown at the windshield of the engine of the train too, so we do not know yet what the cause was. But the situation, even though it's a tragedy, has been really transformed into more of a political talking point, because now you've got Democrats, other folks coming out there saying, well, this wouldn't have happened if Amtrak was better funded. But it's not a funding issue, because, I mean, when you're going twice the posted speed limit, funding can't do anything about that. And really, this would also be another good segment to have down the road, talking about maybe economics and too much bureaucracy. But really, Amtrak, I've said even since high school, I was in high school 10 years ago, and I've been saying that Amtrak really should be a private corporation. That's actually what was intended back in 1971 when Amtrak was created. It was intended to go back to private ownership, but it's been allowed to become a government organization for so many years. And if they'd spin it off to public shareholders, I would believe that it would help the budget so much more, but also help the quality of Amtrak service a lot better too. Might have less of a chance of stuff like this happening.
2 more quick things in the news, and then we're going to have to cut it off for now. But Al Sharpton's daughter, the Reverend Al Sharpton, has said that she is going to sue New York City for $5 million because she sprained her ankle on a city sidewalk. Just something to throw out there. Yet she hiked up a mountain with that sprained ankle. And then the last thing that we're going to talk about, and we're going to mention this briefly, there was a biker gang showdown in Waco, Texas. 9 people were killed, and I think it was 176 people were arrested in that biker gang shootout. And so that's a tragedy that's happened there.
The amazing thing about that, though, is there was no bystanders. It was a busy shopping area where this restaurant was that all this took place, and it went out into the streets. It came out, it started in the restroom of the restaurant we hear, and then started spilling out to the parking lot. But from what's reported, there has been no injuries or fatalities to any other patrons of the restaurant or to shoppers out in the general shopping area, other than the folks involved with the biking gang. So that was almost a miracle in itself right there.
Definitely. But we are running out of time, so we will have to cut it off here. But we are the Patriots of Faith, and we will return next segment.
Thank you for giving your time to us today.